Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Custis, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Rise to Shine podcast. I am your host, Noelle Custis. Today, I am absolutely over the moon to have a phenomenal human being with us, someone who I feel like is not just a guest, but has been a personal guiding light for me. And she was a mentor through my coaching certification. There's truly just those rare souls you meet who leave this lasting mark, and Kelly Brock is definitely one of them. For many of you, Kelly's name might already be familiar and synonymous with authenticity, intuition, and living a life that's purpose-driven and peaceful. But for those of you who are new to her, magic, I'm going to say magic, let me tell you, you are so in for a treat. Kelly's journey is as inspiring as it is relatable, and she is a 35-year-old entrepreneur and CEO of Kelly Brock Co. It is a coaching firm that empowers women to live out authentic and abundant lives. From self-leadership and intuition development to branding and sales, Kelly coaches women to define the life they desire and equips them with the tools they need to make it their reality. She's also a wife and a mom of 3 with a beautiful new baby, I may add. And she is here to help guide us through the importance of really prioritizing self-care for your well-being and finding, I was thinking about this, I felt like it's finding this unique rhythm between going after our dreams and then also slowing down to really savor the journey. So, Kelly, welcome to the podcast. I'm beyond excited that you're here.
Noelle, I am so excited. And I just want to say, I honestly felt tears like welling up in my eyes as you affirmed me. It was so kind, for anyone who doesn't know me yet or isn't following me. This is kind of my reentry energetically back to outpouring my voice. I've taken the last 4 months off in my maternity leave and have really just led um, a healing journey in myself and haven't spoken and haven't written and haven't talked and haven't led my programs like I've normally done. And so to be with you in this moment in my own expression, and then for you to just affirm who I've been to you,
Oh,
because I've been in a journey of like going, who am I? And
yeah.
so just to hear those things back, it really meant a lot to me. So thank you. And I'm so privileged to be here.
Oh, well, first of all, you are so welcome. And honestly, this is just the honest truth here. I told my husband last night that I didn't know how I was going to sleep through the night because I was so excited to have you on this podcast. I know that you have been taking some time, and I
Yes.
just, have followed you through that journey. And what I really just, want to say is that it really felt like you were one of these first women in my life that I heard on a podcast a few years back. And I was like, who is this person?
Mm.
Your wisdom and your insight, it's like, I just knew that I had to know you. So, of course, I started following you on Instagram. And then I just started really paying attention because it was just like, when someone is just speaking and you're feeling like it's kind of like when you go to church and you hear the pastor and you're like, okay, do you know my life? Like, how
This
are
is
you?
for me.
Yeah, you're speaking directly to me. I felt that in such a big way a few years back. And so I remember just, starting to take some of your courses, and I absolutely loved being a part of your world. And I never will forget the day that I saw your coaching certification program pop up on your stories. And it was like an instant double take. I went back and I was like, again, instant yes, oh my gosh, no matter what, 100% in, oh my goodness, what am I doing? And there's
Mm,
no turning back now. It was definitely one of those moments. And I truly believe it was one of the best decisions I've ever made because it's not only this magic that you bring and this beautiful authenticity that you bring to the table, but it's the community that you also have
mhm,
that I just feel like, wow, what a beautiful group of women that I have been able to connect with so many. And that's why I'm just so excited for others to meet you and to get
mm,
to know you today through our conversation, because I know there's been some pivots and really just, again, being authentic with you, diving in and just going, what is the best for me and my family?
mhm.
And how do I make that all work? So I guess we'll start there and
Yeah,
just let you share some of your background and what you're up to now in this chapter of your life.
yeah, thank you so much. So, a little bit about me, I have been an ambitious and entrepreneurial girl since I was young. I started my first business when I was 7 years old, and I stole rocks from a neighbor's driveway, those, like, white, nice rocks and you, like,
Right.
pay good money for, and I would ride my bike, and I'd go steal these rocks, and I would paint them with my mom's nail polish, and I would sell them at my bus stop, and I very quickly learned about supply and demand because there was not many people who were interested in buying my painted rocks.
That is
But
so
I share that because I've always been fascinated, um, by human behavior. I've been so
Mhm.
interested in being independent. I have always wanted to make my own money. I've always been creative and have wanted to do the next thing and what am I interested in now? And so that started
Wow.
really young for me. And when I was 22 years old, um, I ended up dropping out of grad school where I was 6 months from graduating and decided to start a network marketing business and was like, felt my soul come alive where I was like, "Oh my gosh, an opportunity equal to my ambition." Like, are you kidding me? You just spoke my love language. Like, I'm
Mm.
ambitious. If I can have anything I want, this is the vehicle. And so I spent the next 10 years in a network marketing company, which I loved for so much of it. And in those last few years, I really found myself. I actually had manifested anxiety and depression, and I didn't know why I had gotten sick. And as I started to investigate this burnout that was happening in me, and again, at the time, I had no idea it was burnout.
Right.
I was just like, why don't I love this anymore? And why why does this not ignite me anymore? And why do I find myself wanting something else, but I don't know what that something else is? And it was a big death for me to realize I was being called to do what's natural sometimes, which is moving on.
Mhm.
And my life was saying, our energy is done here. And you're supposed to go do something else. And I ended up walking away from that network marketing company and started my own Kelly Brock Co business, which
Mhm.
was all about helping women through the experience I had just gone through, which was what do we do when life is now providing the path for us to find out who we are now? Right?
Right.
How do we I'm most interested in helping women live their most authentic, aligned, and abundant lives. And abundance is not always a financial thing. It is a values thing. It's like I am getting fulfillment out of the things that make me feel rich and make me feel alive. And so 2020, right before the pandemic happened, I started a business and um, it grew very successful because other women were saying, me too. What
Right.
do I do when this dream has expired and something else is wanting to be birthed, and it's disorienting when that happens? And
Mhm.
so I started coaching. I started leading women in business. I started life coaching with people. I started a podcast. I started a coaching certification that you got to be a part of. And I started all these things that were really helping people to get that end goal. How can they take this skill set of empowering themselves through the human experience into this next version of themselves? And what I did not expect was it's gonna happen again to me. Like, I was like, "Yay, I
Right.
finally arrived where I'm so happy," and then it happened again to me.
Mhm.
This last 2 years, um, I experienced burnout again.
Mhm.
adrenal fatigue, physical and mental exhaustion, mental fog, and lack of clarity like I cannot explain. And I was going, God, why? No, no,
Right.
no, no, no. This is what I want. This is all the things I said years prior. Same thing. I said I wanted this. I
Mhm.
love this. I love what I've built. I love the people I'm with. I love my team. I had built $1 million business
Yeah.
and multi-million dollar business that it had made in its time. And all of a sudden I started finding myself pushing through, doing
Mm.
it because I had to, obligation. And I started going through again a death and rebirth that I was being called to let go of this woman I had been and open up to the new. And I say that really fluidly right now, but it was so hard. And in that same journey of that dying, God's like, "You know that baby you've been praying for? Now's the perfect time." And so I found myself pregnant and going through a whole death and rebirth in that, and here I am in this moment, having done one of the most courageous things I've ever done, which was stop my business.
Mm.
Not like, "Hey, these programs are gonna keep running while I'm taking maternity leave." I
Mhm.
cut it all. I let go of in the fall, right before my baby was born, I let go of all of my employees. I turned off all of my programs. I let
Mhm.
all of my, obligations out. And I said, I know without a shadow of doubt that I'm supposed to stop the momentum of this boat and take time to heal. And so for the last 4 months, I have been being something I've never been, which is just me.
Yeah.
Like, not identity in a business, just me, and that's been a whole new experience.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, gosh, so much in that space. Like I listen to you and I feel like I witnessed so much of that in the last cuz I think it
Mm.
was probably late 2021, maybe early 2022 when I came into your world and
Yeah.
so to see these transitions and to just almost like go through that the feelings of it because I remember thinking back in the fall like wow, I like how is this going to look for her and
Mhm.
what is this going to feel like for her and I know that it's like high achievers are often praised for their ambition and their relentless drive and going. I know I've been put in that category, but I'm so curious with that quieter voice within you and can you just talk about how you learn to like tap into your intuition? Because I know that's
Yeah.
really big for you and really use it as a compass to guide you through some of these major life shifts.
Oh my gosh, it's huge because, we are a mind, body, spirit.
Hmm.
We've heard that. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
mind, body, spirit connection,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But so many times we identify with the thoughts that we think, the identities we place, and that's all mind land, right? That's all
Hmm.
the things that live in the mind. And, the mind is a beautiful tool, but instead of allowing it to be a tool that helps us to human here, we identify with it. And I I got really stuck for a long time. I mean, for anyone who's listening, please hear me say I'm going to speak like I'm a little bit wise, but it's almost like, hi, here's what I've learned from really getting it wrong for a long time. Here's what I know. What I know is we have a spirit inside of us that has
Hmm.
wisdom.
Yes.
And we have to learn to decipher between the two different voices.
Mm.
And we have this thing that's called the ego, and not ego meaning egocentric. We have developed something that's called the ego, and our ego is our identity that we've put on ourselves based on where we were born, who our parents were, what belief systems they instilled in us. Like, if you think about it, we were all plopped down on the planet. I don't know about you, Noel, but like, did you choose where you landed? Like, do
Yeah,
you
right.
remember? Right? Like, no.
Nope.
And if we did, we don't remember, right? So here's the deal. We were plopped down in a center of the earth that gave us a view of ourselves and the world. And we develop what's called our ego. and we learn how to survive with those parents, those siblings, those grandparents, those belief systems, that community, that culture. We
Mm,
learn, oh, who do I need to be in order to survive?
mhm.
So, one of the things that I learned was to be a high achiever. I was a child. I wasn't consciously like, oh, they like this. It just happens, right?
Right.
So, part of my identity was I learned to push through.
Mm,
I thought emotional management was stuffing it down. I'm like, I am so good at emotionally managing through hard things. I just don't deal with it. Like, it's like that's actually not healthy. That's not good. And so, as I started, when we don't start to listen to the whispers of our spirit and our soul, because it
mm,
always whispers,
mhm.
wisdom is quiet, wisdom is mature, wisdom is that still small voice. And when we don't listen, it has to, I always say it taps us first.
Right.
And then when we're not listening to the tap, it shoves us. And then when we're not shoving, it throws a brick at our head. And when we're not doing that, it just burns the house down. And so I found myself twice having burnout
Mhm.
because I was hearing and knowing this, like, I don't know, some part of me is just wishing I could stop. That was my wisdom.
Mm,
But I was going, well, that made no sense. Who's going to pay for these 4 employees? Who's going to pay for this house? Who's going to pay for this car? Who's going to pay for this podcast that I run? All the things. My
yeah.
mind started taking over and saying it's not logical. So I had to learn to decipher between the two voices, the ego and, you know, what I call your sage voice or your intuition.
Mhm.
And so for anyone listening, you could even take notes on this. The ego, the voice of the ego will always feel demanding. It will always feel, like obligation. It will
Mhm.
always feel like these words, what you should do, what you have to do, what you need to do.
Mhm.
It will always be a constricting feeling, right? Like, when I was thinking this, I was like, who's gonna pay for these employees? I have to keep working.
Right.
I feel even saying that, my shoulders are bending over, I feel constricted, I feel stressed, my belly hurts, right?
Mhm.
There are these signs and symptoms that happen in our body that even are signaling this is not from God. This is not your intuition, right? So it's always fear based. Ego
Yeah.
is always afraid. So that's how you can test something. And
Mhm.
then intuition is the exact opposite. Intuition is always wise, it's always loving, right?
Mm.
Like, I bet, Noelle, you were like, who am I to do a podcast?
Oh, for sure.
Who, oh, I couldn't do that. That's ego, right?
Yep.
But the
Yep.
minute you have a next voice that goes, "Of course you can. You
Right.
have to. You're made for this. This would make you come alive." How exciting would that be? See the different energy behind that voice. It's
Yeah.
loving. It's like, you can do this, Noelle, and you're
Mhm.
gonna do this.
Right.
So your intuition is loving. It's
Mhm.
always for your highest good. It's always for your growth and expansion, right? It's
Yeah.
always reminding you of who you really are. And so you could take the same thought. This is a great test to your audience to know, is it my ego or is it intuition? Because you check the energy behind it. So, for example, I could have a thought of, you know, I should start my podcast again.
Mhm.
I've taken a hiatus from my own podcast. So that thought comes through my head. It
Right.
could come through and I should start my podcast again.
Mhm.
Whoa, that energy is obligation. That energy is I have to, right?
So
Or
good.
I
Mhm.
could have, I should start my podcast again. Oh, the energy is expansive and exciting
Mm.
and loving and like, I should do it. Now's the time. So you can always check the tone and the energy behind even the same words. Because a lot
Yeah.
of times we get confused. We're like, I don't know, it feels scary. Because sometimes even intuition takes us into scary places, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it's the energy
Absolutely.
behind it. And so I had to learn the difference between those 2 voices because if we don't,
Right.
we will keep living in places we have outgrown.
Mhm.
And that is a human experience. We are supposed to end chapters and begin new ones. We are just as powerfully called to something as we're called away from it. And I really clung to that. I was like, no, I love this. I want to stay. But my intuition was like, all I want to do is rest.
Yeah.
My intuition was like, I think I just want to be a mom right now. And all
Mm.
of my ego is going, well, then who are we if we're not an achiever? And who are we if are we not guide, not guru? Our podcast, are we not the girl who rents private islands and hosts amazing transformational retreats? Who are we if we're not those things? But my
Right.
intuition was saying, I think I just want to rest. I think I just want to be with my family. I think I just want to do these things. And my ego had to die
Mhm.
in order to accept what my intuition knew was true and what was best for me. And again, sounds super simple, but it has been a real humany thing I've been going through.
Right, right. I mean, it's so big. I just feel like there are so many women that go through this like internal struggle because they may be feeling that nudge. They may be getting those whispers and those taps that are saying, and I remember myself going through that and really, I mean, and I explained it exactly that way. It gives me the chills that you had said
Mm,
it that way because I said it was the little whispers and I
mhm,
tried to ignore them. I was like, no, no, I can't. Like because there was no way in my mind that I could even come up with an idea of how to like change. And
mhm.
I had the identity of a teacher. I
Yeah.
had I that's what I had worked for my whole life, and I was getting closer to retirement and I was thinking, why now? Why now are you starting to panic or starting to feel that I think you had said earlier, like you started to manifest this anxiety and
Mhm.
depression. And that is exactly what was happening. And it wasn't until my husband looked at me like dead in the eye as I was crying on a Sunday afternoon. And he said, we are going to continue having these same conversations until you start to make a decision. And I believe in you,
Yeah.
but I didn't even know how to navigate that. So I guess my question would be for someone, a woman that is going through something like this, that is feeling all of what we're talking about here, how do you how do we start to tap into the importance of like listening to that? And
Mm.
when you do finally hear it loud and clear, what do you start to do? What does that process look like? What did it look like for you to start prioritizing like the importance of my self-care has to
Yeah.
be my priority?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that I hope everyone listens to is we are a reflection of nature, and nature has seasons, right? We have a death, right? That happens. We have a shedding in the fall that gives place to a quiet season of no growth. And
Mm,
then we have all of a sudden there's a spring, there's a rising energy, there's a newness, and then there is a fullness, there's a reaping of the harvest, there's glory, there's all the sunshine, there's all the fun that comes in summer. And just like nature has life cycles, so do we.
mm,
And I think just knowing that and coming to a place of acceptance, because again, I knew that that happened to me once before, and then I was surprised when it happened again. And so I'm like, oh man, I got to remember this next time so that I can quicker allow. And I really did. I much quicker
mm,
this time. I gave myself over to the obedience that
mhm,
I had to be in to the thing that wants to happen in my life.
mhm,
And, I struggled much longer the first time, but I struggled again this time. I was like, no, 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 I don't want to. I don't want to let go. Right. Because, as humans, we cling to certainty.
mhm.
We cling to it. So you're like, I'm certain I'm a teacher. I spent all that money. I got my education. I've been doing this
Right.
thing. I've got all this built up. And what, I'm going to walk away from my certainty and
Exactly.
not only walk away from certainty, go into the unknown
Mhm.
where I don't know if I can count on myself and I don't know if I can be an entrepreneur and I don't know if I'm going to be a good mommy and I don't know if I have what it
Yeah.
takes. It's all uncertain. And so there will always be a leaving that has to happen. There has to be a letting go. one of the things that I have studied, and it's just important to like note here, I studied quantum physics and like spirituality and all these things because it really, I'm so curious about us as humans.
Right.
And what I learned was that all the energy that is ever going to exist already exists.
Mhm.
Energy only transforms itself. So all the energy that will ever exist in all the galaxies and universes, it already is. It
Mhm.
just gets built and burned down. It gets transformed into something new, right? And
Yeah.
the same is true for us. That's why we have to have a letting go of something to create space for something new. That
Mm.
energy needs to stop existing in the identity of you as a teacher. You have to stop talking about it. You have to stop being it because you need to start turning your attention to this new woman. Like,
Mm.
what would I do? And would I have a podcast? And would I coach? And would I, right? You have to take that energy and intention and put it into the new thing. And
Yeah.
so I think it's super helpful to just know that that is natural and that does require a letting go of all the old things in order to create space for the new. And so for me, just recently, okay, now I've got the signs of intuition. I'm listening now.
Mhm.
There becomes this moment where you go, "Okay, God," like you look up and you're like, "Fine, fine. I'll
Mhm.
listen." And so you start to say, "What now?" And
Right.
one of the things that has to happen is, you have to take your intention, you have to now redefine what are your intentions. And I
Mm.
remember, you know, I wanted here's what I knew. The first time that I walked away from a business, I had wrapped up all my dreams of happiness, money, um, possibilities for travel, great,
Mhm.
parenting, all of it had been wrapped up in this one dream. And so
Right.
I said, "Okay, God, if it's not that dream, I still want these things, just bring it to me a better way." Because
Mm.
those were still my values. Those were still my intentions. And when we stop clinging to the way it has to happen for us and
Mhm.
just be really clear on what are our values, they can come to us in the new way with ease. And so during this season, I really had to sit down and say, okay, I wrapped myself up like a human would. Here I go again, in an identity, in a form of how those things needed to be provided to me.
Mhm.
And okay, God, if it's not this anymore, I give it back. My hands are open. I give it back. But what
Mm.
I still want is these values. I want to be the most intentional, exceptional mother. I
Mm.
want to be the most intentional, exceptional wife. I want to create tools and programs that actually change people's lives. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in being famous. I'm interested in being a part of changing people's lives. I wrote down like, "Okay, God, I want to be a spirit-led woman and I want the fruits of you evident on my life. However you want to make that happen, I'm giving my dream back to you." But I
Mm.
got really clear on my values. So
Mhm.
now that purpose, all those purposes, because we're multi-purposed,
Right.
come another way. And so
Mm.
I make the suggestion that it's time to get really clear on your truest values
Mhm.
and allow God to say, "Okay, I'm gonna bring it a new way."
Mhm.
And so that's one part, getting
Right.
those values clear. But then it's like, "Well, what am I supposed to do in this waiting for this new vision to come?"
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because it's like, "Well, if I'm not supposed to look at that, that's all the things I've been looking at. What do I do now?" And so when in the times that I have felt visionless and really lost, I had to start to so we talked about our intuition. Our intuition always gives us like just like Noelle said, y'all. She said when she saw my certification, my coaching certification, she
Mm.
could have come through the computer. She had such a spark, such a yes,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Your body was
Absolutely.
like excited. When you thought about this podcast, did you feel expansive?
Absolutely.
Yes. So
Yeah.
you didn't know if you could do it, but you knew, I feel energized about this.
Mhm.
So in
So
my
good.
seasons of okay, well, who am I now? I start reflecting every single night on 2 questions. Where did I lean in and where did I light up today? I
Yeah.
start looking around. I start going to meet new people. I follow read new books, I go to new places, I start opening my vision to whatever path God wants to take me. I literally will start going eating at new restaurants, going to new coffee shops. I unfollow all the people who were in my old world, and I
Yeah.
go, who's inspired? Let me follow them. I start opening up my vision to expand my thinking a little bit to make
Mhm.
it easier, right? And I start documenting every night, where did I lean in, where did I light up?
Yeah.
So during this season of wondering for me, I started following. I was like, "Oh my man, this idea of traveling the world and working, that lights me up." I
Mhm.
saw this post and I saved it. That sounds exciting. Oh, this idea of Airbnb homes and different streams of income. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't want to be a real estate agent.
Mhm.
I know that, but I'm kind of intrigued. All right, I'm going to write that down. Oh, I love this idea of homeschooling my kids. Ask me if I want to homeschool my kids. I feel wildly inadequate. I am like, I don't know, God, if you've equipped me for the patience and I'm not a teacher, Noelle. I'm like, I chose to be an entrepreneur, not a teacher.
Yeah.
But something about the level of intentionality and the time with my children and the curated
Mm.
experiences of learning excites me. So I wrote it down,
Yeah.
right? Learning to feel worthy and healing, that excited me. I wrote that down. I was like, "Man, what if I could take some time and space? What if I lived a little bit more small so that
Mhm.
I could just heal during this season?" I wrote it down. I was lighting up, I was leaning in. And so all of a sudden, when you start to look back at those reflections, you see there's kind of a through line.
Mhm.
Wow, I still want to lead. I still want to be an entrepreneur. I think I
Yeah.
want to travel abroad. I think I want to do these things. And so you start to see God was always every day giving you the next little piece of the clue,
Gosh,
the
so good.
next little manifestation. And
Mhm.
so that little practice helps me to start gathering the puzzle
Mhm.
pieces as they're coming, because they won't come faster, by the way.
Mhm.
God's not just like, "Hey, Noel,
Yeah. Don't
here's
we
the
wish?
next 5 years, and I'm going to tell you all about it right now," because
Right?
you would run away from that vision.
Yeah.
Actually, you
Yeah.
you would say, "I'm not equipped." So
Mhm.
instead, God is good to us and lets us grow into the people who can hold those dreams.
Mm.
And so we collect them step by step.
Yeah. So good. Oh my gosh, I literally I'm just sitting here again just going, "You guys, this is why." I was so excited to have this conversation because, again, I just feel like you always just speak to my soul, and it is so beautiful because I think about even what you were talking about your journaling, and I still use that practice, and it
Mhm.
has been such a powerful tool in my life. And until you do it, you don't know what you don't know. But
Yeah.
once you know it, it's like you can never go back because
Can't unknow it. Yeah.
yeah, you can never, it's like, just like seeing something and being able to unsee it. It's like you just can't
Yeah.
because you see the fruits that come from that. And just, I feel like it just opens us up to being able to really listen. I am such a different person now than what I was in my younger version. I think of all the times that I was like, man, that was God whispering to me. That was God yelling at me.
Yes.
And I was not listening because I wanted to do it my own way. I just,
Yeah.
it's because it did seem like the impossible. And
Mhm.
so whenever it felt like it was the impossible or I'm not equipped to do that, I would just shut it down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I really started digging in with, because I was in such a place of like, I physically and spiritually and mentally cannot move forward like this
Mm.
anymore. Like
Yeah.
I hit that space of like, and even at that time I didn't know what to do. So one of the things that I'm curious about, because I will say that at the time that this happened, everybody thought my life was perfect. Everyone's
Mhm.
going, "You're teaching, you just got remarried, you have this amazing husband and this community around you. Like, why in the world are you unhappy?"
Yeah.
And I remember feeling this guilt about it because I didn't want to admit it. I thought, "Oh gosh, I don't want to admit that this is happening." But I guess my question for you is, knowing that you're married to your high school sweetheart and have this beautiful, community that you've created, what advice would you give to women that are maybe trying to navigate these conversations with loved ones or building a support system for themselves that embrace their need for transformation?
Oh, I love that. That's such a beautiful question. We're designed to desire community and to
Mhm.
want to belong, but we cannot belong to others more than we belong to ourselves.
Mm.
And so there's a hierarchy.
Mhm.
I must abide by the alignment to myself before I ever align to even the alignment to my husband or to
Mhm.
my children or to my friends or to my community. And so many times we're afraid of changing ourselves because of what it will do to other people.
Mm.
Right?
Great
Like,
point.
what
Yeah.
what will you think if I decide I don't wanna be this person anymore? What will you think if I decide I remember when I started questioning my faith, and not
Yeah.
only questioning it, but I was wanting to expand beyond Christianity into a little
Mhm.
bit more spirituality, and I just thought, "Oh gosh, I can't tell anyone because they'll all be so upset with me and
Right.
and tell me I can't." And I thought, "But this is about what God's doing in me.
Mhm.
Right? This is my call, and
Mhm.
I will be sick, I will be small, I will be dissatisfied with my life if I don't align to that calling that's happening in me, and each of us have our own calling. And
Yeah.
so we have to at some point be okay being misunderstood by others to be in an understanding with ourselves and alignment with ourselves. And I have done that to the detriment truly of losing friendships.
Mhm.
I mean, when I walked away, Noelle, from my network marketing company at that
Yeah.
time, I was what I call one of the darlings of my company. I was on a billboard in Times Square representing and I mean, if I could have tattooed it on my body, I would have,
Mhm.
saying, "I'll be here forever." And when I realized God had called me somewhere else and I walked away, people weren't just like, "Oh, good for you."
Mhm.
My choice to not choose the same as them felt offensive. And not
Mhm.
only did it feel offensive, they said, "She might take you somewhere else, so don't follow her." I
Mhm.
mean, within days, I lost hundreds of followers. Like, they literally I even had one girl in my DMs one time, I will never forget this. She was like, "So now that you're not with our company anymore, I'm not gonna follow you anymore, but I really loved following you before and, like, best of luck." And I was like, "You do not have to leave me an exit message." Like, I would have never known you had unfriended me, like, just go. But
Right.
it
Right.
broke my heart because my biggest fear was that people
Yeah.
wouldn't like me if I was being more true to myself and if I changed, and they said, "You're right. You're
Mhm.
right." And that was hard. It's our biggest fear, the rejection of our community and our tribe.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
there is a next community, the people who won't just like you, but they'll love you, right? The people who
Mhm.
won't just withstand you, they will understand you. And I found more of them. I found you, Noelle. I mean, there's people
Yeah.
I've been connected to that I just go, "Oh, I can't imagine never not knowing you. You were on the other side. You were on
So
the other side of my courage to
Mhm.
just do it for me." And I have found more alignment and more vibration and more expansion and more confidence and self-assuredness. And that would never have been possible to me had I worried
Mhm.
about what other people would think. And that's a journey of courage, right? It's a little
Right.
tipping point after another, but I promise you, people will be uncomfortable with you because
Mhm.
you live in a relationship with others and they're used to your dynamic.
Right.
There's this book called The Dance of Anger, and I highly recommend it to every woman, period.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
most women are afraid of the kickback you get
Mhm.
when
Mm.
you decide, "I've had enough. I would like to change," right? We're
Yeah.
afraid of that. And
Yeah.
every person is in a dance with the people in their life. Like, you do this, and I swing this way, and then you swing this way, and I swing back this way, and we dance together. Well, what happens when you decide to step out of the dance? I don't wanna dance like that anymore, babe. I don't think I wanna fight like this anymore. I think instead of, like, yelling like we always do, I think I'm just gonna pause and walk away. I
Mhm.
remember the first time I did that to my husband, I was trying so hard to be self-aware, and we were used to, tick for tack, let's go for it, right, if we're in an
Right.
argument. And I was like, "I don't wanna continue this dance."
Mhm.
And I remember saying, "I can't talk about this right now. We can talk about it later." And I walked to another room and he followed me. He's like, "Where do you think you're going?" Like, he's like, "I don't know what to do with this, Kelly." So your
Yeah.
family and friends will say, "I don't know what to do with you. Come back." They will do every trick in the book, unconsciously, by the way. They're not malicious,
Mhm.
not always, but they're gonna want you to come back because we're craving certainty. And they
Right.
don't know what to do with a you that's different. But I promise you, they will learn. They'll
Yeah.
either learn or they'll leave.
Yeah.
They'll learn or they'll leave. Yeah.
Yeah. No, such a great point. As a matter of fact, that first podcast that I heard you on, that was exactly what you were talking about. Is you were
Mm.
talking about, if I remember correctly, it was, I know that we say that this has become kind of a bigger, you're hearing it now more and more, but like the stepping into her. And
Yeah.
I remember you talking about this on the podcast and how you were like, we're not going to dance this way anymore. And
Mhm.
specifically that about you and your husband. And I think there was a story about dishes in the sink and,
Yes.
all of the things that you were like, okay, I can choose to get irritated and angry and start this argument, or I can pull back and go, who's the wife that I want to be, and how where is my responsibility in helping to navigate and change this? And I remember that just feeling so powerful because clearly you were steps ahead of me that I thought, oh my gosh, that's so true, and then the part that you're talking about now, as far as what I didn't see that I see now, is you're exactly right. There are people waiting for you in this next space that you don't even know yet. They don't even know you yet. And it's like you're praying for each other and you will find each other through this process. But there are going to be, and I never want to sugarcoat this, that there are going to be people that won't be able to handle that change, that are not equipped to be in relationship with you as this, transformation happens. And it's, you know, yes, it's like a bittersweet thing that I think about. I go, you know, it feels sad in my heart, but yet as I've gone through it, I have such peace with it because I know that they were there for a season in my life,
Yeah.
like we talked about earlier. And they brought such beauty to my life. And you know, we have that and we'll always have that. And it's part of who shaped me. It was part of my journey.
That, because I've watched, I think a lot of people waited for me to badmouth
Mm,
what I left, and I thought, "How could I badmouth?
right.
How could I if they are a part of what has made me who I am?" Like, my public speaking skills, my leadership, my ability to run a
Mhm.
business, well, I learned that there, so if I'm gonna say
Yeah,
everything was crap, like, that's just ridiculous, like,
absolutely.
I'm grateful,
Hmm.
and I think it's important, again, to know that this is life, and so, just because we were seasons rather than lifetimes,
Right.
like, we don't have to be upset about that. We served that season for each other, and I think it's for me, you know, there have been people who, like, just walked out of my life, and then there have been friendships that I mourned.
Yeah.
People that I mourned. Like, you didn't just, like, leave. We were in a relationship together, and
Right.
that took some time to heal and
Mhm.
to forgive each other and to forgive ourselves for changing and for it not resonating anymore and it
Mm,
not syncing up anymore. And so it's not to make light of that change. And I think that's good. We shouldn't sugarcoat that this is a part of the process.
mhm.
But what you again go back to the energy, what you give
Yeah.
up in that energy is now getting made into something new and richer and better on the other side that will give you new
Mm,
life. I mean, I remember feeling like I was in a fork in the road, just being like,
right.
well, I could stay. and
Mhm.
I can see exactly what my future will be.
Yep.
I can tell you exactly what it'll be, or I can go to this other direction and I have the possibility of awe and wonder
Yeah.
and something new. And that felt even scary. It felt energizing. And I thought I would rather bet on myself. I mean,
Mm.
Noelle, even right now, I have never, since the age of 22,
Mhm.
not been ambitiously building something.
Right?
Since 22. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And I 4 months to nurse a baby, care
Mhm.
for my postpartum
Mhm.
self, to be
Yeah.
at home with my children, to make my husband dinner. I mean, literally, an old version of me, I'd be like, "Kelly, guess what? One day we make Josh food, and we're happy about it." And, like, I used to resent when we first got married, it was so funny. He had a mom who cooked, and I had a dad who cooked.
Mhm.
Like, I had an ambitious mother, and I had a dad who cooked, so we got married, and we were like, "Well, who's cooking?" 'Cause like, man did it in my house, and he's like,
Right.
"Woman did it." We were hungry for our first year of marriage,
Yep.
but I remember resenting these
Mm.
chores I had to do, these responsibilities for the house, because they didn't give me energy, and still, I don't love, love, love making food, but I almost feel like what a privilege that I gave myself the experience to say, "What would it be like to take all my energy back from the things that I was pouring
Mhm.
out into other people and pour it into what I say is my most important values?" Remember, I just listed them out.
Yeah.
I'm an intentional, exceptional wife. I could cry. I'm an
Mm.
intentional, exceptional mother. I'm a spirit-led woman.
Yeah.
I I am another one of my affirmations is I am an empowered woman, and through
Mhm.
my embodiment, it inspires others. Like,
Yeah.
these are my affirmations I say to myself, and if I'm saying those are the things that matter most to me, why would I not be giving them my highest and my best?
Yeah.
At the end of my life, I'm not gonna be more proud of the books I wrote or the programs. I'm gonna be most proud that I have adult children who want to be with me,
Yes.
that I've raised resilient, confident, kind children who know who they are, and
Yeah.
that can't come we can't give away what we don't possess, and I really had to go through these last few months a journey of saying, with or without acknowledgement, with
Mm.
or without being seen online, with or without accolades, I am worthy.
Mhm.
I'm important, whether anyone knows it or not, just me, and that was liberating to wrestle with all by myself. I mean, I missed so deeply. I I emotionally was addicted to the stimulation I get from being someone to other people.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Like,
Absolutely.
"Oh, Kelly,
Absolutely.
right? From Guide Not Guru. Oh, you're Kelly. You're Kelly from this coaching certification. Oh,
Yeah.
you're" so now I'm just Kelly. You're just Kelly
Mhm.
from where? What do you do? It's like, I'm just at home right now, and
Yeah.
this for me was me giving myself over to a new level of healing, and I wanna say something else that's just popping up on my mind.
Yeah.
Noelle, I'm usually in the past, I've been an all or nothing person. So
Mhm.
I would have been all business, no home. And what I really am being called to is a sustainability of both because I'm
Mhm.
not just mommy. I'm not and I'm not just an entrepreneur.
Right.
There's no
Oh, that's
me
good.
without ambition. And so instead of making the season, I remember being like, "God, are you taking me away from all of this altogether?" And I
Mhm.
wanted to make it one or the other. He just cut me off from my dreams of s creating online and leading people,
Mhm.
and I thought, "Well, he's not told me that, so I'm just not gonna make it that. I'm not gonna say it's that until I receive it." And I realized I just needed this season to really ground and embody in this portion
Mhm.
so that the work that I do is now with this new level of me.
Yeah.
And that feels good. Like today, I'm feeling so in my calling talking to you. And
Mhm.
as soon as we get off, I'm going to go hold my baby. And I
Yeah.
get to do both of these things today. And this is my last baby. And so it's less about what I'm now one or the other. It's going in this season of my life, what feels like the sustainability? You said at the beginning that I was someone that spoke to the rhythm
Mhm.
of authenticity and the rhythm of alignment. That's
Mhm.
exactly I hope if your listeners take away anything, alignment is not a set it and forget it. Alignment is moment by moment.
Yeah.
We have aging parents and we're gonna have graduating children and we're gonna have
Mhm.
new seasons, and so alignment will look different, and that's why intuition is so important. We have to sense what is alignment to me now. And for
Yeah.
me, I wanna be as present to this precious baby little kid season as I can and be expressing myself and my ambition. And one day I'll have all my energy back. One
Yeah.
day I'll sleep. One day I won't be nursing a baby and hopping on a call like this to be with you. And
Right.
so that day I will be different and I'll show up
Mhm.
different. But
Yeah.
to give ourselves to the alignment of who we are now is an honor. And when we're
Mm.
honoring ourselves, we always feel that sufficiency. We feel that abundance because we go, I'm exactly where I want to be as who I want to be.
Yes.
There's more than enough in the values that cause me to feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so oh my gosh. I know I'm sitting here going, I could totally just cry right now because that is just yesterday. I mean, I was thinking about what does, and I was going to ask you, but you've already answered it. It's like, what does true fulfillment look like for you? And I love that because I was in my office and I was working and I knew my son, he's 15. Uh, he wasn't feeling great and he had was starting to get a sore throat. And I remember him texting me during his lunch break and I said, "How are you doing, bud? Are you holding in there, holding up?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "My throat just hurts so bad." He said, "I just wish you could make grandma's chicken noodle soup." And it was so funny because I literally was like at my computer, I was working, I was doing some behind the scenes things, and it just hit me. I was like, I can. And
Mm,
I'm gonna go to the store and I'm gonna buy all the things. I came home and I made my mom's homemade chicken noodle soup to be ready for him when he got home. And I can't, well, first of all, how I felt doing that, that is when it was just that confirmation of
yeah,
this is exactly where I'm supposed to be because
yeah.
that is why that was such a huge why for me. And one of my values, you were talking about values, and I always, try to really ground myself in that because my value is freedom. And I think one of
Mhm.
yours is as well.
Yeah.
It's the freedom of being able to go, I get to do this and I
Mm,
can do this and I can stop what I'm doing right now. And I know, I feel so blessed because I have worked to create that,
yeah.
and I want that to be something because I'm in that middle space too, where it's like I've got parents that are aging. I still have a
Yep.
grandmother that is living, and so it's like taking care of that, but then also being a mom that I still have kids. My daughter just graduated from college, but I also have a 15-year-old at home that
Yep.
I'm still taking care of. And I love that season. I love
Mhm.
being able, and I know, I'm on the other side of things where it's like, because I saw my daughter grow up so quickly, now I know. So
Yeah.
as my son is in high school, I'm like, I want to embrace all of this.
Yeah.
I don't want that to go away. But I also want to be able to express myself. And I
Yep.
also know that I'm not ready for, I say I retired from teaching, but I'm not ready to retire and just hang
Yeah.
out. I
Oh.
want to be a voice. That's what lights me up. And that
Mhm.
is definitely what I see in you is that it's just like this fulfillment that you have. And I love, and this is why everybody needs to go follow you. I love watching your Instagram and your social media because now there is so much of that I
Mhm.
see, you being a mom and you were always a mom and
Yeah.
embrace it. But I did see a lot of, you were in the thick of things with the
Mhm.
programs and all of the
Mhm.
things. And just to see you in this space of having this new baby who, I just feel it's just like such a completion of your
Mhm.
family and
Yeah.
where you're headed. I know we've like been, exchanging DMs of like, hey, what about Greece? And
Yep.
you're seeing decisions, and I'm
Speak
going,
it out.
oh,
Speak it out.
speak it out, speak it out. But I love that. And you're absolutely right. This next season is, I believe with all of my heart, is going to be a season for you that is just going to be even more expansive. It's just going to look differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful journey. So I definitely just want to thank you so much, because this has been such a gift today. I know that I will have you back on here. We'll be talking
Anytime.
about all of the things, and just honestly, your wisdom and insights are just really invaluable. I mean, as we come to the end of this show, because I'm going, oh my gosh, can we go like 2 hours and we'll just, I have so many things I still want to talk to you about, but I just really hope that our listeners have found inspiration and encouragement in your story and in your journey, and just how it serves as such a powerful reminder that it's so important to take care of ourselves, and
Mhm.
listening to our heart, mind, our body, and prioritizing the most important values of our lives, and really use that as like a guiding light. I mean, that really is, part of it. And so I would just encourage all of you out there listening to just reflect on an insight that you have learned, or a tool that you've learned that you could start to apply to your life, especially if you're in a place of feeling that, you have a feeling that there may be change coming. There may, you might be in the middle of a transition and a transformation. So definitely check out all of Kelly's, information. They'll all be in the notes. As you can see, she's an absolute gem. Oh my goodness. And just watching her, family grow, and you're going to just be able to continue to hear her heart, because I have never met a more authentic woman in my life. And, Kelly, I know that you do have, I know that you had mentioned the private island that,
Yes.
uh, the private island that you do retreats on. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that with us
Yeah.
before we wrap up?
Yes, yeah. So, I really felt into this next year, and I was saying, okay, for the first 6 months, am I saying yes to anything? And the one thing I knew I was saying yes to, in 2024, first 6 months was, a retreat. I have been holding retreats at an island that changed my life. It's called Ariel BVI.
Mhm.
And Brittany Turner, who is the owner of this island, one of the most global big thinker, world changer, humanitarian,
Totally.
like bubble bursting people I've ever met, because her goal is getting people in their purpose and
Mhm.
helping them make impact with their lives. And I went to her island, it changed my life, and I ended up hosting my own retreats there, and we are hosting together the first female retreat that she has hosted on the island, called
Mhm.
Presence. And
Mhm.
Presence is going to be a healing retreat for women. And it's all about recalibrating, recentering, and rejuvenating our mind, body, spirit. And so there will be everything from us taking your cell phones and days of silence,
Mm.
to learning to hear your intuition, to centering our minds, to healing, actually moving emotion and energy out of our bodies so that we come back actually a totally energetically different person.
Mhm.
Um, I feel so honored to get to host this for women, because, when we change who we are, we come home and our whole world changes. When our inner experience is different, our outer changes as well. And I'll be excited. That's going to be June 8th through June 12th. So if you hear this, if this is posted by then and you're
Yes.
like, oh, I feel that intuition pull, DM me. We still
Yes.
have spots left on this incredible private island. And as far as my programs and things like that, what I did before I kind of stepped back was I made a lot of my programs self-paced modules. And
Okay.
so so many of the teachings that I have around business building and branding and stepping into a new reality, all of those are programs you can lead yourself through right now.
I love
Um,
it.
and I will be bringing back so many live programs in the next couple months. So don't hesitate to definitely reach out.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Kelly. And just a big thank you for joining us today. Remember, it is never too late to step into your purpose and create the life of your dreams. Until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and know that the best is yet to come. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.